This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we have a Thermador double oven, and we're going to be replacing the oven relay board. It's actually pretty easy to do. They don't make the boards anymore, so you can take out the old board and send it away to this company, and for about $150 they'll send you back a remanufactured board that has new relays, and they work really well. It's just kind of a pain because you have to take out the board, send it out, wait for a while to get it back. So we've got the power turned off at the breaker. We've taken out a couple of screws that hold in the oven, and we're going to kind of wiggle it out. Not very far, only about maybe 10 inches. And that's going to give us enough room to be able to remove this upper panel that is holding, or that protects the, you're going to have to take out these screws. Then we can pull this panel off, and that's protecting the relay boards. So we can get that panel off by taking the screws out. And the panel to the left is for the upper oven, and the panel to the right is for the lower oven. We're having trouble with the upper oven. We've removed all of the wires. Now we're going to be putting the new relay board, the remanufactured one, in position. And then I'm going to move it a little bit to my left, and then I'll add in one Phillips head screw that holds the board into position, and then it's going to be just a matter of putting all the wires back. Before I took it out to do the remanufacturing, I took really good pictures of where all the wires went, because it's usually gone for about a week or 2 weeks. It's real hard to remember. It's a very good idea to take pictures before you remove the wires. And we're going to put all these modular connectors on first, and they kind of go only one way, so you really can't get these wrong. Just be gentle with putting them on initially, because you don't want to bend the little prongs. And then once you feel you have it, push it all the way down in strong. So we had a couple here on the right hand side. There's a couple here toward the front of the oven, and then there's a whole bunch of wires that are color coded that have spade connectors. We'll do those next. Again, taking these pictures really will help you with that aspect, because it's hard to remember which wire went where. The problem with this oven was that the bake element would turn on to get to a certain temperature, and once the oven reached the correct temperature, the bake element would not turn off, so the relay was stuck in the on position and needed to be replaced. And the only way you can do that is by either unsoldering the old relay and doing it yourself, or sending the board out to have it remanufactured. It's pretty easy to get to this relay board on this unit though. And then if you have trouble with the lower oven, it's actually a similar board that's on the right hand side, over about a foot to my right. So I'm checking on my phone the pictures, just making sure I get these wires lined up correctly on the right spade connector. And I'm going to put them on there real solid. Super important, of course, that you have the power turned off either at the breaker or unplugged, although these are usually hardwired ovens, so it's probably easiest to turn it off at the breaker. And it is typically 2 breakers that are dedicated to the oven. I was talking to the homeowner, and they said that this oven was, I think they said 22 years old, and this is the first problem it had. So these are really good Thermador electric ovens. And their lower oven, which it doesn't get used as often, is still working great. So it's important when you pull the oven out that you're only going to bring it out about a foot or less, and that's so that there's no chance of this oven falling on you or falling towards you. If you get it out too far, it becomes unbalanced, and it could come towards you, and it's pretty heavy. But bringing it out about 10 inches is enough to be able to get that sheet metal cover off so that you can get to these relay boards. So We're just confirming again, taking our time, that each one of these wires is hooked up correctly before we turn the power back on. No need to rush through this. Just keep looking at your pictures that you took before you remove the wires. When you look online, you'll find that there's about 3 big companies that offer this service, all for about $150, and they just ask you, though, that you send in the old board first. Also, eBay has these boards available where you don't have to go through this process, but they are used, and that's a little bit more risky. So there's a lot of wires that this relay board works with. So you may have to replace a relay board when the bake or broil stays on and won't turn off, or stays off and won't turn on, because that could be a relay that's stuck in the off position. They're electrical mechanical devices, so sometimes they kind of stick. In my experience, they typically stick in the arm position. The symptom is, again, that it bakes, but when it hits temperature, it doesn't stop baking, and the temperature just keeps going up and up and up. Even though the controller or the brain has stopped the relay is mechanically stuck in the arm position. So we got them all in there good. We're going to go ahead and put that panel back on, slide it into position, and then we'll add those Phillips head screws back on. In this case, to get to some of the screws in the back, I had to tilt the whole oven toward me by a few degrees. Just make sure that you're safe here and this thing will not come at you. So I'm just tilting it by a few degrees, holding it while I put these screws in. So we've got 3 there on the top and then a couple on the sides to hold on the panel. Now we're going to wiggle the whole oven back in. This is nice and flat. We're going to put in these screws here on the upper left, upper right hand corner that hold the oven against the cabinet. And then there's 2 here at the bottom left and bottom right hand corner that hold it in. I'm going to adjust this upper panel too. I'm going to take these 2 Phillips head screws off of the control panel. Seems a little loose to me. Once those are off, I can lift this control panel off. It is connected by a lot of wires, so just take your time. Be careful that it doesn't fall. And we can see that there's these little protrusions here, and then there's a thing that holds them here. So I want to make sure I've engaged those so it helps hold it on. So I'm going to put it in at the top here at an angle, and then I'm going to push in pretty hard to engage those 2 clips. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and add those 2 Phillips head screws back in to really hold it. Here we go. There's our next one. Turn on the breaker. And I'm going to go just set the clock. I press clock, and I'm going to type in the correct time. And then I think I press clock one more time, and that'll lock in the time. And then I'm just going to pick 200 degrees as a test and run it, and then it should indicate when it hits 200 degrees, and then I'll open the door and I'll look to make sure that the element is no longer red, that the power has been cut, and that I know that that has solved the problem. So we hit our target. I've waited about a minute and that element is no longer red, so that did the trick. Hope this helps you. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance.